Let's Talk Herd.
Hi, Savita. Thank you so much
Hello.
for being here.
Oh, you're welcome.
And yeah, so I was thinking about how we could start. And it always, since doing these podcasts, I've realized that everybody who has horses in their lives is doing something, even if they're not on a spiritual path as such. I feel like they're bringing something to our awakening or our, just our remembering of ourselves that's
Mm.
particularly related to our relationship with horses. And I just would love to know your your part in that, your what your note is in the orchestra, because it's just wonderful meeting people who
Yeah,
are, I can feel that
yeah,
energy.
yeah, yeah. Um, I don't know. I have problems with knowing where to start with it really because it's so deep, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so multi-layered and complex and then really like simple also.
Mm,
And I think that all of us that are on this path that we belong with horses. We were destined to be with them, and that in my case, that it took a kind of long, winding road. It wasn't like a straightforward thing. And in hindsight, you can go back and kind of look at it and say, well, it's so obvious that it was meant to happen, and all those soul contracts that were meant to happen. But at the time, when you're sort of more unconscious prior to awakening, you just have no idea how it's all gonna go. Because I didn't have opportunity or like a childhood around horses. It was only in my teenage years that I started to be involved with them. But when I was 2 years old, the first toy that I asked for was a model horse, and I had no one horsey in my family at all. They're all scared of them, really. But and it was a life size. Looks a bit like my thoroughbred now,
oh
a
wow.
bay, life size. Not life size. What do you call it? True
Y-
to form.
yeah,
You
like
know.
realistic. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like
Yeah.
anatomically correct is the
Yeah.
words I'm looking for. Um, and yeah, I'd like it was the first thing I asked for, and I just like clung to that. So it must have been something from past lives that just really came through sort of strongly, like kind of being compelled to do something and you don't know why. And then it just sort of went from there. And in my 20s, I was sort of in and out of it, and I didn't really necessarily think that I would have a future with horses. I think I was lost a lot of the time, really, like through trauma and all of that sort of stuff.
Was
So
it quite a
um,
conventional sort of when you were?
no, I was always really unconventional in that I was just looking for something different to. I was looking for that depth of bond, um, and so I didn't really fit in anywhere. Not even really in the natural horsemanship thing. I sort of did that for a bit,
Mm,
but I didn't fit in there either. And I was saying to a couple of students recently, like I had to really think about it, like with riding, right? Because that's something that we all sort of come up against on the spiritual path and the questioning around that, right? And so I had to really go, yeah, okay,
mm.
it's fun and it's beautiful and we all love it, the movement and all of that. But is that really what it's about? Is that really it? And then I was saying to them, like, and then I realized that it's the full intimacy, you know, the full intimacy of it, because mind, heart, and body. And that kind of mirrors that whole awakening journey.
Yes.
Mind, heart, and body. And you could see their faces when I said it, and they feel like the resonance in them, even though they don't understand
Yeah.
awakening in the terms of non-dual awakening. That's what happened to me through the connection with horses.
Yeah.
Something deep knows, like you said, like the remembering.
Mm,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely. And I think
yeah,
they know that too. Like the horses are so in that
yeah, yeah,
as well. Maybe that's why we're attracted to it. Because there's that
yeah.
invitation in a way to be there
And I look
fully
at
in
it
that.
like that, the
Yeah.
totality of everything, horses, all animals, all objects, all of it, as being the one thing. That's what woke up, and that was sort of the realization here. But
Mm,
I also, my experience has also shown me that individual streams of consciousness that manifest as, a horse, a human, whatever, they do have an individual trajectory and an individual
mm,
growth. And that I found that with horses as well. They have
mm.
an individual, I suppose, level of expansion themselves. They're not all exactly the same. I don't know if you found that.
So true. Oh my gosh, yes. Absolutely. In fact, it's fascinating that you say that because I always seem to come back to understanding that, and like I feel that I have to keep listening to that really deeply because there's something about that kind of ego part of us, or that unawakened part that wants to sort of generalize or put everything in the same. I mean, it's odd because in a way it's not odd, but it's ironic maybe that that we're kind of coming back to the whole on one level, like that we're all really one on that sort of connection. But then on the other hand, I do feel for me, and I don't know, I've talked to my sister about this, we all have different like views on it, but for me, I feel that to truly forgive someone, or I mean, it's usually people that I struggle more to forgive.
Let's face it. Yeah.
I was going to say horses, and I'm thinking, who have you ever? I
Yeah.
never have
They
a
don't need to
grievance
forgive
with a
them.
horse. It's quite rare.
They need to forgive us, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, what was I saying?
About not generalizing. You were
Yeah,
talking to your sister.
yeah, yeah. Oh, about like how I find it, like the way I find at the moment in my sort of progression, or whatever you want to call it, the way I find that forgiveness for someone is through really seeing their authentic self, like they're beautiful. Like everyone has this. And it is true that it's becoming less, like as I practice doing that and being able to do that with someone, it's becoming a bit less, like it feels more, what are the words, more like shared between, like I suppose each, like it's something that, because at first it was a little bit harder to tap into some people, or some, because obviously I had more issue or whatever. I was more blind to their truth.
Mm.
But now as I do that, I find it's more of a state that includes everyone. So like when I get into that state, it's like everyone comes into that. And I think so that's, I think,
Yeah.
truer. But I think there is like this beautiful note that everyone has, and just recognizing that for me was like easier in them, in that particular person. And so with the horse, but in terms of the horses, it's more that just they're seeing that they have that voice, because this one mare that I always go on about, because she's kind of my soul horse, and people are probably fed up listening about her. But she finds that intimacy that you were talking about
Mm.
particularly challenging, or in the conventional sense she does, not in the sense of just truly sharing our mind. But if you
Mm.
try to channel that into doing, and
Mm.
like anything that, because I wouldn't even say it's because we've moved to be on trying to conventionally train, but just
Mm.
even inviting her to share movement together is
Mm.
it's almost like and I think she's mirroring possibly my um, like freedom of
Apprehension.
spirit thing. It's like this freedom of spirit thing. Like we
Yeah.
think that to be free, we
Mm.
must be in a way
Mm.
individual and separate in a way. So like it's almost like when you forgive someone and you feel that real connection and that real vulnerability. It's like that's so beautiful, but it's so hard in a way and it's sort of that, like that our my relationship with her sort of mirrors that. So in a way
Mm.
we're learning together to be intimate on that level with each other. And
Mm.
that's what's coming to mind when you're talking. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So carry on, because
And
it's
so does
amazing.
she have trauma around connection with humans, or does she have
Well, maybe from her very small, early, because she came from one of these big commercial studs and her mother wasn't her own biological mother, and she was an ovarian transplant. And then I think even
mm,
that mother, original mother, rejected her. So then she was with another mother who had her own baby. So she probably had all that going on
yeah, for
about
sure.
people. But since then, I've always been very careful with her to listen to
Mm.
her and give her love. So
Mm.
yeah, because she had a side of her that would come out where she would just become a demon. Like she had this
Mm. I
real,
bet.
and just as a baby, as a foal.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
just knew that she had to have lots of love and only love, never any correction for that. And she's
Mm.
become
Mm.
this magnificent horse, but I just don't push those. But when she's got a boundary, I don't push again. And yeah,
Mm.
but I question myself all the time. Like, are you just avoiding? And I think
Mm.
there's a level of that, but it's until I'm ready and until she's ready, we're ready to go there. So yeah, so
Yeah.
we haven't done a lot. I've sat on her back, but only when she invited me and not with any equipment
Mm.
or anything. So we went so far down that road of conventional, and then we just reached a ceiling with. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's sort of individual, like um, that whole soul journey with it, because we have to, you know,
absolutely.
balance it with practicality, don't we?
Yeah,
You
that's the
know?
hard bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's sort of one of my strengths is that I'm able to be in that sort of transcendent thing, but still be really grounded and
Mm, yeah.
if we have them in domesticated
Yes.
environment, they've got to be taught stuff that helps them stay
Mm,
as safe as we can make them.
yeah.
Um, and it's kind of like our responsibility, isn't it, really, to them?
Absolutely. And there's a level, I think, where you can meet them where they are, because they do that with each other in the
Yeah,
herd. They're quite
yeah, yeah.
they've got quite strong, herd dynamics and what
So,
you could
yeah,
call rules or expectations of behavior. And they
yeah,
have to fit in with that. So it's kind of,
that's
I
it.
think if you come in at that level and
Mm.
there's no taking things personally, and there's no like getting upset. You just
That's
come in
it.
at that. Yeah, then you can really operate on that.
Yeah, that's the key, isn't it? That taking things personally.
Yeah,
Because
it
that's that
really
whole
is.
awakening journey of that personal self, that separate self falling away
Absolutely.
more and more.
Yeah,
And, you
exactly.
know, for most people around horses, there's so many wounds that get pulled up,
Yeah,
and
so true.
there's only one person that I've ever met. I'm not saying that there's more that don't exist out there, but only one person that I've ever met that didn't have those wounds around horses.
Mm,
That doesn't mean that they were perfect or, that they didn't have a lot of other wounds, but
yeah,
they didn't have those wounds around their connection with the horses and what they were doing with them. And that
yeah.
was my first
It's amazing.
mentor
Right.
that I had. So,
How did that
um,
come across in them, would you say? Show us.
just an okayness when he was with them,
Mm,
just like he didn't have anything to prove
mm,
to anyone. That doesn't mean that he didn't get frustrated sometimes and get to the edge of his own, capacity or growth with it. He didn't have any
yeah,
problem admitting that or talking to me about that, or do you know what I mean? Like just being
yeah.
really real with it.
Yeah, that honesty.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah,
that really comes from,
yeah,
yeah, like you say, not having to.
yeah. And
It's so
allowing
beautiful.
yourself to make mistakes, because we sort of I think sometimes some of us at least, when we get onto that path of a more spiritual path with horses, we sort of have this idea that we have to always have this perfect, harmonious relationship. And you think about your relationships with humans. I don't know that we've ever had any relationship that's always, there's some that
Exactly.
come closer.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. It's
certainly
more
my
how you
relationship with
respond.
him came so
Yeah.
close to that almost
Yeah.
perfect harmony with just a few little, record
Yeah.
glitches. But we kind of like then put this idea of perfection onto our relationship with our horses, whether, it's like one extreme of someone being really narcissistic and expecting their horse to be perfect, or maybe going to the other extreme of where we're expecting that we should be this perfect saint
Mm,
and get everything right. And,
yeah.
it's just not
Yeah.
realistic.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's that whole thing about expectations, isn't it? Of ourselves and them. That's something
Yeah,
we really have to let go. Yeah.
yeah.
Just, it is
And they can
amazing how
feel
it
that
does.
too.
Yeah.
You,
Yeah, they
they
really do.
they can feel that if we're thinking that, oh, we've got to get it all perfect and right, and and the sensitive ones like your mare, they'll be sensitive to that,
Oh, yeah. It's
so
so
that it will,
true that, yeah,
uh,
you
and that'll
really
almost like bring it
notice.
out like that. It'll
Yeah.
bring out that kind of
Yeah.
in them.
So true. It's like this kind of resistance. It really fascinates me. Um, this whole thing about their, because for me, what really inspires me is if we work together, that they are inspired in the same way as I am. Like I want this, and maybe that's just a bit of ego as well. I don't know, but I just feel like it's this in them. If their will is there, if it's their will to do
Yeah,
this, then there's
yeah,
such a different feeling. It's like
there
all of
is.
this whole wall drops away.
Mm,
Like we were talking about intimacy. It's
yeah,
like you can feel, like when I was riding more, you would always feel that wall of, like I used to think of it as tension. We just called it tension because we are like trying to always figure out how do you get rid of this wall of tension. I mean, it
I
could be
bet.
subtle thing, a subtle, it's not, or not
Mm,
subtle in itself, but feeling it, it could
mm,
be. it wasn't necessarily the most obvious thing, but there. And I think it really kind of comes from their lack of, they don't want to. It's as simple as that. They're holding this resistance. Like, I'm not even, it's not even necessarily a mental choice. It's like a physical sometimes thing.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
when you feel what it's like to be with them when they want to be there, truly
totally
that.
different.
And I think maybe I've gone so far the other way of like trying to invite that
Yeah,
volonté, they call it in French, like that
yeah, yeah,
true
yeah.
wish in them. That yeah, sometimes it's kind of it gets it can get a bit complicated, and it's not really
Yeah,
complicated when I'm with them. But I just feel like that's the most important. I feel like for me, that's my contribution.
yeah,
So I don't
yeah,
worry if we like end up not doing much on the, especially with her, because I feel like for that, just giving that space is all that matters. Really, just kind
mm,
of, being able to say, okay, like your will is important. And if you don't want to, then that's
mm,
fine. And even
mm.
if it takes years, just the fact that she wants to is so important for
Yeah,
me, and that there's no obligation. And she, in her temperament, there's no obligation. Like she doesn't feel obliged. So yeah, it's
yeah.
really
And
so
that's it, isn't it?
easy.
They're all individual, like some of them um really love that writing relationship
Yeah.
and they
Yes.
love
Yeah.
getting out and they love doing stuff
So,
and they just,
yeah.
thrive on having that fun. Some of them like to perform in front of people, you know, and some of them don't want to be written at all. And most of the time, they're physical trauma from the past, all that sort of.
Do you find
Yeah,
that in your experience that the ones that are less willing are always the ones who've done more of a conventional training in the past? Is
yeah.
that
Or trauma, or they've got physical issues because of how they were trained, or racetrack,
yeah.
or you know, all that sort of, like the purer start that they had, then the more sort of willingness there is there. But
Mm,
but yeah, I think at the soul level too, it's like they're learning lessons, their
exactly.
individual stream.
That's so important.
Mm. And what are there, and to understand that as a connection with them, and we're caretaking them in this life. Well, what are
Yeah.
their lessons? What are they learning about? Where's their growth edge?
That's such an amazing way to, I think it's so important to be able to see that side of it as well. And do you think maybe we start there and then we go into us and then we go back to them a little bit? Because just you
Yeah.
saying that reminds me of that was my whole perspective for like where are they needing to,
Mm.
shift maybe. And then I changed it completely the other way. It's all about my, like what I need
Mm.
to sort of heal, and then
Yeah, yeah,
and so it's funny.
yeah,
It's balancing the two is a bit.
yeah. Finding the
Yeah.
balance. Yeah, because
Yeah.
otherwise it just becomes one-sided, you know,
Exactly.
and it's only by noticing what's really happening for the two that the two can become the one.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So tell me about your horses. Do you have a herd or
No, well, I've got two at the moment. But I've got a really funny story about will. You were talking about will when they've
Yeah.
got the desire to do it, and
Yeah.
that whole
Yeah.
finding out them as individuals, what lights
Yeah.
them up, what they enjoy. And so the farm that I'm on, it's 100 acres, and I'm up the back, and there's cows down in the front. And at one point there was probably too many of them, and a few that were a bit cheeky that would break in
Right.
when the farm owners were away. So they'd
They
wait
know.
until they left, and they're like, right, we're going to break out
That's
while
so
I'm looking
funny.
after them. And so I found them up in the little bush section in the top paddock
Right.
where the horses are, and um, I found them up there, and I found the horses there, and like the horses are like looking at the cows, and then they look at me because we really really connected. They're like the three of
Yeah.
us, and then they look at the cows, and then they look at me like, "What's happening?" And I'm like, you buggers, you cows. I'm going to have to get you out. So as soon as I started chasing them to try and like herd them out, so my thoroughbred that's off the track, he is a cow horse in thoroughbred
Yeah.
disguise.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And as soon as I started doing that, he was just like, yep, game on. And he just like copied me,
That's so
and he
cool.
went so hard after them, took them down to the fence, and they turned on the fence and went through some more bush, and he just like spun, galloped back down through the gap in the bush and chased them
Wow.
all the way out of the tent fencing, the
That is
different
so
fence
funny.
line, and then just stood there on the hill like, yep,
So proud of himself.
I did that. Yeah.
That's so funny. I love that.
So,
Just
like if you
shows.
were to, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't do that as a sport.
Yeah.
That was just like out of necessity. Like I had to get the cows
Yeah.
out. But
Yeah.
he would love it. And he
Yeah.
loves the cows. Like he talks them over the fence, but then he's like,
Yeah.
right, now
They've
you have
got
to
your
move.
place. That's so cool. I love that.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
It does. Yeah. I mean, it shows that just
the
that
fun
we're
of it.
all like in it together and that we're all like, we've all just have to follow like our sort of that connection, I suppose. Because he could
Yeah.
probably feel what you needed out of the situation
Oh yeah,
as
he was like
well. So
fun. It's on.
yeah,
I went to my
yeah,
friend's house, a couple of farms over. I took them over there. This is a while ago, a few years ago now, and um, just because there was a body worker coming there, and
right,
she,
yeah,
just to go to the way, and it was kind of a fun thing, we go and do
yeah.
sleepovers, and her mini horses broke in to the
Oh my
paddock where
god!
mine are so cheeky,
Wow, what did
always
they
breaking out,
think of?
and they broke into where my thoroughbred was and my quarter horse, and and they often pinch food, especially one of the minis. And so my older quarter horse, I want his food to get pinched. And so I just sort of said it like I wasn't expecting that he would actually do it when I said it.
Yeah.
I just said, Ollie, get the minis. And he was kind of just standing around for that, and he just spun and was onto it. And like he's like a
Wow,
cutting horse, like in a thoroughbred. It's just bizarre.
that's
And he's just like
amazing.
he just hot footed outmaneuvered those minis, like you are not getting
Wow,
in here, and then he poof out, get out. And
that's
they woo,
amazing.
they both went.
You must have that in some maybe that was what he was in a past life or something.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I love it when there's that like proof that we can sort that we've got telepathy with it, that we can
Yeah.
communicate on that level. Because I think it's so for them it's really clear. Like it's just energy and they
It is,
sense.
yeah. They're so much better. They don't have that chattery mind that gets in the way. And there's been
Yeah.
so many times where that's been proven to me.
Yeah.
You still have that bit of doubt that comes in every now and then. Just their
Yeah. I'd
response
love
to
to
it.
be able to just be in that all the time, but I don't know.
Mm.
Maybe you can develop that if I did a communication thing, like a course, an online
Oh,
course with Penelope Smith, and
yeah.
she's like the kind of grandmother everyone calls her of animal communication, so all animal. And it
Yeah.
is just that streaming, you know, you can get into it. The main thing I learned from that I didn't really know or understand was that our imagination is a kind of channel, is the
Mm,
channel. Because I
mm,
always sort of, you know, had the conventional view that imagination, you're making it up, you know, you're just kind of, you know, you are just making it up. But apparently, if you get into that, like imagining what they're saying, that's another way of just opening it
mm,
up between you.
mm. Yeah. I get a real sort of more sentient like feeling or clear cognizance. But
Yeah,
that's not surprising to me about that, talking about the
yeah,
imagination. There's a bridge because it's tapping into those centers of more right brain, our intuitive
yeah,
self. It kind of makes sense.
yeah.
I mean, all of that opened up a lot more for me through awakening. You probably remember, I think I might have said it on interview that you saw me on Batgap, that first mentor that I was talking about before, Gavin was his name. Um, he died in a car accident,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
very young, um, and so that trauma of that of losing a really close friend and mentor,
Mm,
um, that was the first sort of trauma that put a crack in consciousness, put a
mm,
crack in my everyday kind of what I thought life was and what I
yeah,
thought I was, and I had that first sort of opening that I didn't understand,
mm.
but I'd only that there was so much more to come.
It's amazing how it does that to us, life.
Mm,
Just kind
yeah,
of, yeah.
yeah, just
Well, it does
destined.
seem to, yeah. Yeah, I was just going to say it does seem to be more trauma that does that, like negative, what we perceive as, but maybe we don't see the positive ones so much. I
Yeah, yeah. I guess there's people that wake up through meditation and all that, but
don't. Yeah.
most of us have trauma, so I guess it's not surprising.
Mm,
Evolution trying to work its way through these bizarre lessons on Earth.
yeah. And I suppose it's because there is no such, ultimately, there's no such thing as really trauma as like the negative. You know, it's not really on on the truth level. It's not really real, any of it. So maybe it's showing us that, and so we have to
Yeah.
come up against the limits of the body.
That's it. Yeah, at the absolute level, that there's
Yeah.
nothing. It's not. Nothing's ever been touched. Nothing's ever been harmed. There's
Mm,
no.
ex-
There's no male or female or
yeah.
history or future or
Exactly.
anything. But then that's that
Yeah.
paradox. We're talking before about how the horses have that individual path, their own individual expansion at a spiritual
Yeah.
level as well as a kind of, earthy level.
Yeah.
And that's the paradox that we do too, and we're the absolute all at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. And in a way, I think they tap into that absolute more easily, but maybe because they've got less, like in a way, because maybe ultimately we can go in at a higher frequency. You know, it's more complicated for us to get there.
Well, we
Yeah, I
make it
don't know.
complicated.
Yeah. Well, that's true as well. Absolutely.
When you
Yeah,
realise that
but
it's got its own timing and that it will do it
yeah,
when it's ready,
yeah.
it, you know.
We've got our whole mind thing, don't we? And our thoughts and not being present. That, I suppose, makes it seem harder.
The mind wants
Yeah.
to kind of take control of the process instead
Yeah.
of the surrender, surrender, surrender,
Oh, I love
because we
that you
come
bring
up
up that
against that.
word. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my favorite word of the moment. Surrender. Yeah. It's just such a beautiful thing, isn't it?
Mm,
Just realize that we can surrender.
yeah. And then
As
what's going
soon
to
as
come
we,
from that? It's such an
yeah,
adventure about what comes from that with our path, with the horses,
yeah,
um, and those centers of opening, like waking up from mind thinking that it's in control doesn't mean we don't have a mind still.
yeah,
We still use that, and things that we've learned with um, the horses. We still utilize that, but
so
cosmic
true.
mind then is channeled through,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
and it
Yeah, I
uses
have this
those
kind of,
things as a tool.
absolutely, yeah, it's our kind of, maybe sometimes our special ability, but
Mm,
I have a sort of picture of that in my mind. Like if we can just relax and surrender, it's like it's like all the little resistances that are holding us back from just being part of that whole grid work. It's not like we lose
mm,
ourselves, we just become that where we're meant to be in the grid. And so we fully, like you say, let it through us. And yeah,
yeah,
it's like it's just pure empowerment, really.
yeah, yes. When it hits the body, that
Yeah,
deeper, you know, and all our unconscious stuff, which is what you're talking about, like what
yeah,
is here that needs
yeah,
clearing, and taking responsibility for that and not putting that on
yeah,
the horse,
absolutely.
for the horse to,
Yeah,
a lot of them have got their own trauma
yeah.
to deal with and need help, and that's what I do, go and help them through that, in that whole, that they're in that domesticated human
Mm,
world. But when it hits sort of deeper in the body, that it's just like a deepening of
mm,
surrender, like the intimacy that we were talking about before, that cosmic heart coming through, you know, surrendering at that level. And then in the body, that will, when we were talking about before about will,
yeah.
and that hitting that kind of where identification gets hooked
Mm,
into the survival mechanism in the body.
right. Yeah.
Because in the sort of heart, that unity thing, it's, you don't lose that unity or mind awakening, for want of a better term, but it's really different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really, really
I
different.
can feel what you mean. It's so hard to put these things into words because words are like kind of one dimensional, and what you're describing is so
Yeah.
multi-dimensional. It's like, yeah.
Mm.
So how would you describe your work with the horses?
So I think that what we were just talking about, that whole journey of awakening and the process
Mm,
that happened um, through, me as this individual human, it then goes, okay, what skills are on board
yeah.
with this human that can be a service and a gift
Yeah. Okay.
to to life
Mm,
itself, so it's like this cyclic journey of like, then how does that give into the world,
mm,
and because I had that time with foundational education with horses,
mm,
starting and restarting with my first mentor that I was talking about, Gavin. And then later on, I had another intensive period of time with another mentor of sorts, um, although we were at odds with where we
so
were going,
yeah.
with it. Um, so yeah, that was restarting and starting
Yeah.
under saddle and horses that came in stuff. And so the awakening then used those skills to like, all right, you can serve in this way because you've got this gift with the horses,
Mm.
and you know, so I guess how it looks practically. Sometimes I'll get stuff before I meet a horse, um, like what they need or like a sense of them, psychic stuff. Um, but then when I'm with them, it's just a feeling like,
Mm.
and then I meet the person, like the guardian, let's just say. I meet them where they're at, so they might not even have a clue about spirituality or certainly not to the depth that we're talking about. But it doesn't matter because it's serving them anyway.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
doing its thing on them with where they're
Yeah.
at. Um, and it's healing for them, and then healing for the horses. So lots of educating, I think, of the person
Mm.
about like being more aware and being more aware of what's here that needs
Mm.
processing to then be able to see more what's happening
Yeah.
for the horse and what the horse needs to help through whatever trauma, that they have.
So would you say it's more of a, like if you had to categorize, is it more a training or more of a healing type? I mean, I know that it's, it's everything. That's what I love so much, that
All of
it's
it.
all melting away, isn't it? Like I feel that with
Yeah,
what
it
I
just
do,
becomes
I don't categorize it really. Like if you had to, I would say it's like helping people with their relationship with their horrors. But yeah,
yeah,
it's just like, oh no, isn't it? It's
yeah,
almost like you're
yeah.
not, because I felt like what I did before when it was just kind of skipping several stages, or like, not because it was trying to like look at the result of training, like look
Mm,
at what you were. It was almost like the focus was on the result and not on just the moment with the horse. So you were like skipping out and not seeing. And I
yeah,
wanted to go right back to the beginning and just sort of embrace everything in a way. And it's taken quite a long time to
yeah.
come back to the elements of like bringing back in elements of actual training, but only so that they can only so they embrace that process. Like what, so for example, if that could help a horse to feel better in themselves,
Mm,
or just like
yeah,
transformation, physiological transformation, all of that can be such a beautiful tool. But like you say, you have to have the
yeah.
focus on the moment, in that moment, what's happening. And it's really,
What's happening right there and
yeah,
what's needed? Yeah, because like with that, their worlds can expand.
exactly.
Because if we never help people with expanding their capacity to be in different places and do different things with their
Yeah,
horses, they get
yeah.
bored.
And
You
it's a
know?
sort of, I suppose that one thing leads to another, doesn't it? Kind of, there will be a journey. And
Mm, yeah.
it's almost like there's one mare that's joined our herd, and she's her guardian. She's lovely. Such a lovely couple together. But this mare was very her way of responding to the world when she felt kind of out of her depth, or pushed too hard, which we often do with horses, was just to kind of resist, just go into this like real strong ball of resistance. And so
Mm.
when we started working with her, and the herd really has helped her so much because she's actually got a really strong, bossy personality. And in the herd, that's able to come out, not necessarily in a way where she gets everything her own way. There's a whole like, unfolding of that because she can be herself now in all of these
Yeah.
contexts with different horses. She's not so, it doesn't have to be defining her now. Because I think she felt she couldn't do that with people. She couldn't be herself. And so it's coming out more
Mm.
in a more of a confident
Yeah.
way. But one of the things that just
Yeah.
when you were talking there, it somehow made me think about that. One of the things we did with her, which just was purely being in the moment and sensing, was when she would go into this kind of dissociation when she went into that resistant kind of knot. And it affected her whole body, would just go, because we just said to her, I said to her guardian, just ask her where she's gone. Like ask her what happened, where did she go? And as soon as she did that, and we were just waiting, and her eye just went from being like a bit glassy and a bit distant just to being back. She was like, oh, I'm back. And I don't think she even, I
Yeah.
mean, she wasn't even really aware. It was just her way of coping. And just doing that was enough. Like, you
Mm.
don't have to go into any, we didn't have to do anything other than just say, where are you? And she would be like, oh, I'm here.
Yeah.
And now she doesn't even,
Yeah.
this is completely almost gone from her, this dissociation thing. And it's nothing like,
Yeah, amazing.
and it was just as simple as that. Just, where are you? No? And it's so
Yeah.
beautiful.
And in Yeah, and in doing that, like you're doing that co-regulation too, because in just being so simple with it, then
Exactly.
your body relaxes, and then
Absolutely.
they feel like they can be there.
Yeah, yeah, because it probably was a mutual thing between her and Eileen. So
Mm.
yeah, it's so amazing. I love that. Just it's almost like you just come with an empty vessel in a way.
Yeah, and what's
Yeah,
needed.
and it just
Yeah,
comes into you, at the right time, and you just have to
yeah,
trust that.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like painting something,
Yeah,
like
it is. Yeah,
it's an art form of
absolutely.
the divine painting through you.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
I love that whole. And I don't think you even have to put words to it or, you know, yeah, I love to share. I love this idea of sharing, but I think it can't be
Mm.
because it can't be coming from that place of like how our ego wants us to, you know, sell things. And I mean, that's even a bit strong of an idea, but just to kind of identify ourselves as something because it needs to be about us in a way. I think for me, that was really important that
Yeah,
I had to disidentify with this thing of being of anything really, like being anything, like like be knowing anything and being and healing anything, and like it was really important to just let that whole aspect go into this kind of like I don't do anything, like I don't. Because I think for me that was probably quite a strong attachment. So I don't even think. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean it's different.
Well, it is for everyone until that unhooking of the
Yeah,
identification happens. And it's a process, there can be bits hiding out.
such a relief.
I think that reminds me of what we were talking about, the unity, and then the lower in the I mean lower in the bellies.
Yeah,
Some people don't experience it like that, that identification gets fused with the
yeah,
survival mechanism. They don't actually experience stage to be the gut, they just experience. whole body, but a lot of people experience the gut. It's just been asserting itself over time, bit by bit, because it's a continuous process. Even though we segregate them, it's all the one thing. When it really like fully, because people would talk about it like, oh, you stole my God, because there's all that, unity, like bliss and that divine luminosity and just all those beautiful heart sort of things. And there is that sense of there's something divine,
Yeah.
there's something really beautiful. Um, but it was actually when I was standing with Ollie, who I was telling you about before, my thoroughbred. It was actually just a really simple moment. We have a lot of those
Yeah,
together.
so beautiful.
We,
Yeah.
yeah, we really loves to stand and just we look at stuff together.
Yeah.
And we were having one of those moments, and that absolute just came to the forefront, and I had no idea who I was. I had no idea who he was. I had no past. I had no future. There was just nothing but that moment.
Mm, that's amazing.
And then I was like later, oh, now I know what they mean
Yeah.
by you stole my God.
Yeah. Wow. That
Now I get
that
it.
makes me think of a
And
moment I
yeah,
had with one of mine in the herd. She just, I don't know why. I mean, I don't think it mattered that it was her, but she's very independent and she does her own. We were just standing together, and I suppose I would frame it as that we felt how everything was love, and we felt how powerful, and how nothing could be separate from that. Like, that wasn't possible. There is no
yeah, real
separation.
unity.
Yeah, it's just that pure sense of, it's always the same words, isn't it, that we have to use, but like, it really was like real, like you say, like everything else just faded away, and it was just that love, and it's just
Yeah,
so
yeah,
enough. Like, when people talk about their
yeah.
NDEs, and they were like, they experience that love, and they just didn't need anything else. There is no, like, need for anything,
It's
yeah,
whole.
it's just
Yeah,
whole, and all of and I suppose that makes sense of this, that everything else is an illusion, because yeah, on that level,
yeah,
it kind
yeah.
of is, nothing means it. All the differences, in a way, don't mean anything.
On that level,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
just,
And all that sort of feeling of like unconditional love and um, that beautiful sort of wholeness, and that's all very heart, unity based. But this that I'm talking about, this absolute, there's not even,
yeah,
you can't even say that there's the experience of that. It's not that that's not
yeah,
there because it's all the one
yeah,
thing, but the experience is not even like
yeah. An
that.
experience. It's almost like beyond experience, like beyond perception.
It's beyond experience.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's free.
Like the kind of
Yeah.
root. Yeah, the only thing I've had that kind of relates, and I don't know if it's even the same thing, but I had this one time in a meditation, just this sense of, and it was strange, because it was like, those, it was like as if everything was forming itself. Like, what it reminded me of was these grains of sand, that this kind of magic sand that forms itself into shapes. It was like everything that exists was in this ability to form itself into these perfect shapes. And it was just like the kind of, knowledge of that. And I just thought in the moment, this is God. This is what that is. It's just like it felt, yeah, it was quite unusual, and I've never felt it, but that it kind of felt sort of related in some way to that, what you're talking about, that absolute, like just absolute reality
Yeah.
that God, that all there only
Yeah.
is God, and the rest of it's just,
Mm.
and yeah,
And then how would we approach our horses knowing
yeah,
that, with that kind of clarity?
yeah, yeah.
And I have sort of like 5 framework, like principles of um, to to work with, and they're all centered around that evolution.
Wow.
What is possible if we're coming from that absolute
Mm,
sort of compassion, clarity, connection, intuitive knowing, and loyalty and commitment,
mm,
and it all kind of mirrors the different centers of our
that's amazing.
spiritual evolution.
Okay.
And then when we go into relationship with our horse from that place, what's possible?
Mm, that's beautiful.
And yeah,
And do you find when
yeah.
you're working with people that it's more about giving them the tools or guiding them to guide their horse, or is it a kind of triangle, like a turn?
Yeah, I mean it's different with different
Mm,
people because they're at different levels of spiritual evolution and at different levels with their understanding of what I'm talking about with the horses. Um, so I'd say it's probably a bit of a triangle, and it just depends, like some people feel nervous about doing things
mm.
in front of someone that they're perceiving
Right.
as
Yes.
an instructor or
Yeah.
you know, someone with a lot of experience or whatever the case may be. And so I might just do more with the
Yeah.
horse myself
Okay. Yeah.
and work with the horse myself and then sort of like talk to them as I'm doing that. Um, and then I might just start to, without them knowing, just pepper in them doing
Yeah.
something, in a
Yeah.
way that is so subtle.
Yeah. Feeling through your words, like feeling through the energy of what you're saying, like how powerful that is, that whole response, not even responsibility is not really the right word, but the whole kind of like who is like influenced, who's influencing who. And yeah, I don't, maybe we don't take that into account enough in general. I think sometimes with working with horses, we can be quite rigid in our habits. Like we have habits that just, I think because maybe it's rooted in the fear of working with an animal like that. And so, it's easy to get into a structure that's very rigid. And it's just such fun to like take away that, to go beyond that.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess I was lucky in that I didn't have a convention. That was one of the benefits of not having have that rigidity. That's not to say that I didn't have habits
Yeah.
that maybe were not helpful. I think we all develop those that, that need to be, looked at and
Mm,
let go of and all of that. Yeah. And then also still having a process for learning for, the human and
mm,
the horse.
that's
Because we
true.
need both,
Yeah.
don't we? We can't throw out that, that lineal thing because
Yeah.
things do make sense in this dimension
Absolutely.
anyway
And like a
to have a lineal
physiological,
progression.
there's a physiological element, working with horses where you're balancing them and but yeah, it is taking that, because I
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
when for me there
yeah.
was like quite a strong Like you were either doing a bodywork session or you were doing like a sort of training set, like, they were all very demarcated, like the kind of different things you could do. And that, it's kind of, in a way, it's just there aren't none
Yeah,
of that.
yeah, yeah.
It's just what is in the moment. Would you say that's how it looks like when you're working?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't go into body work as
Mm,
such, as in like releasing the muscles, because I don't have a skill set that would make me confident in necessarily doing that. But I most
mm,
certainly will say,
yeah.
well, this horse is really sore. All these issues that you're having,
Mm.
they're trying to tell you something. And then I have to
Yeah.
say, well,
Yeah.
I'm not a body
Yeah.
worker as such, which I am, but I'm not. Um, but this horse is in so much pain, and um,
Mm.
I think it's probably got ulcers because of the presentation of the pain in its body. And then the
Yeah.
horse would just
Just
instantly
that
like go,
whole
thank
realization.
God, and just lick and chew and just go, someone finally
Yeah.
said it, like with their voice. And it's not that the person was wanting to do anything wrong, or like the beautiful person that really did. We have our blind spots, and it was just in their blind spot. And we've all had those. So, and we've all still
Yeah.
got them, no matter how deep awakening goes. There's always something that's still in evolution.
Absolutely.
It's just that we're not identified with,
Yeah.
so it can come out with a judgment. But it's kind of wild, like where it can lead you. I had this one client that got in touch with me about a whaler horse who she'd had to rehome it when it was very young, and she was very young, only a teenager at the time. Anyway, a long time later, it's come back around, um, and has come back to her, and she wanted me to see if I could help her to start it under saddle, because it had never been started under. We had some beforehand
Mm.
things
Yeah.
that would have to be considered for that from their perspective, from the horse's perspective. And then when I met
Wow.
this horse, I'm like, I know you. I
It's
just
amazing.
knew that I knew him so strong, like unbelievably strong, and we bonded like really quickly, even though he was presenting with
Mm.
a lot of baggage from his experience in the past. Not that anyone was abusive,
Yeah.
or just not
Yeah.
maybe understanding the way to communicate with him. And he's very sensitive, very, very sensitive horse, um, and just holding lots of grief and abandonment over having to
Mm.
leave
Yeah.
where he was, and not adjusting well at first,
Yeah.
and all that sort of stuff. But he's good now.
So, yeah.
He's happy now. He's adjusted, and he knows he's there, and it's really beautiful. But like the soul connection with this horse was just, and because I'd only just, I thought,
Yeah.
I don't know how much to tell her,
Yeah.
but she's really soulful. So like on a
Yeah.
spiritual
Yeah.
level, like I could totally go there with her. Um, After a bit of
That's
getting to know her, so I know this, and he remembered me, like we remembered each other, and from that, through
mm,
that absolute divine, whatever we want to call it, it's like
that's amazing.
a book is coming through that wants to be written. Yeah, and it's like I don't want to write. I never wanted to write a book. It's not wasn't something
Yeah.
that I, as a human, was interested. doing, and it's like this thing that is all of us is using my experience and my
Yeah,
past and my healing and my trauma and my
that's
awakening and my time with horses to like offer something to the world through this book. If it ever gets finished, I get getting distracted by so many other
yeah,
things
that's
that I need to do.
fabulous though. Wow.
It's just so
Yeah. And is
beautiful, hey?
it, would you say it's like a book that is specific to him, or is it more just what you're doing with him is giving you this perspective? Or
It's like our souls collaborated for this moment in time that when we met, it would trigger
wow,
this opening of this channeling
that's
of
so cool.
riding through my life experience. And it would yeah, it's panning out to be strange. I'm like, what is this actually going to be? Part
Yeah,
part fiction, part snippets of my life, part his
wow,
story,
that's
but not,
amazing.
not necessarily all exactly how it has. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like it's one of those books where you'll be like, what part is true and what part isn't? So you can't actually just put it into a box.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
So the
great.
transmission of it is like a letting go, and it's
Yeah,
yeah. So we just
so
never know
excited.
what being with
Yeah,
horses like what
yeah,
how it's actually going to look.
absolutely.
He's
And
beautiful. He's
yeah,
so beautiful. I miss him when I'm not there giving lessons.
that's so cool. Yeah, it's like it reminds me of what we were saying before about how we have to let go of like that us part that's just resisting and just become the whole matrix. And it's like that's what he's doing with you, like he's helping so that this
Yeah,
boot comes through.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah, because I think when when you try to do things from your own, your in a way your own. Yeah, I don't
personal
really
will.
know what the word is, but your own independent kind of desire in a way, then it's
Mm.
just not the same. It's not, it's not. I think some people maybe have that, like they're kind of know their purpose from very young and they're just in that, and it is the kind of their divine purpose. But most of us seem to, it just takes a while to be able to reconnect enough and allow it to channel enough that our
Yeah,
true purpose comes through us.
yeah.
Yeah,
And time for it to percolate and become really rich offering, because
exactly.
if you if you totally just woke up at, 8 years old and then never had the life experience, like, do you know what I mean? Like you wouldn't
Yeah,
have those
absolutely.
layers of understanding of the
Yeah,
human journey
totally. Yeah,
and the suffering,
yeah,
that goes along with that separation, feeling separate and feeling
yeah,
isolated
yeah.
and all the
It's
pain
almost
of
like
our wounds.
yeah, yeah. It's almost like we have to go through those like forgetting times in order to remember again. Then in this life we're much stronger for being able to share it with others, and
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
and you just know by what you're inspired by, don't you? You can't force action against that inspiration. I think it's really powerful if you can just go with your inspiration, not feel motivated to do things out of fear or stress or pressure or anything. Yeah.
And then that comes back to balancing with practicality, doesn't it? Like,
Yeah, exactly as well. Yeah. But I think when you're more in that flow, then you kind of are I mean, I don't know. I think it's maybe less about the things that you're doing and more about just your state of mind, maybe.
mm,
Like, yeah, I don't know. I think maybe you just get more and more into the flow of, because I always think about that. Like I always think I could never have a 9 till 5. I just couldn't do that. I don't know how people can do that. And so
Wow.
like I admire people so much on one level for being able to be so responsible in a sense. But then I think I never have a day off from like looking after the horses, and that work is like
Mm.
very, like it's probably a lot more, a lot longer and harder than most people's
Yeah.
job. So it's like,
Yeah. Yeah,
but I
not to
don't
mention all
think
the
about it like
emotional
that.
part of it as well. Like, if
Yeah,
they get
oh, that
sick
I
and
don't even.
injured and like,
Yeah, all of that. Yeah, I mean, I've done. I think I'm quite good about just not going there because that would be too much to kind of. I let that be that like it's like the divine that looks after them in a way. Because, but yeah, I mean, it's like I think if you're inspired about it, if you just have that, you know, that's like your like part of your purpose. I think for me is just being their guardian, just on a, even on quite a simple physical level. That
yeah,
it is just, I just never feel like I don't want to or something. Like I might
yeah,
feel ill or tired or something, but I never
tired. Yeah.
don't have that inspiration. So yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how it works, really.
So you're on your own looking after them, or do you have
I've
help?
got my husband, but I tend to do, because he does all the other things like the wood, getting the wood for the winter and doing the lawns and keeping, we've got our, and he does all the cooking as well. So I'm really
Oh,
spoiled.
you're lucky. You are
Oh,
spoiled.
I am so spoiled, honestly. I've kind of forgotten how to cook.
Oh gosh.
It's so good. And he makes these beautiful meals. And so I tend to do all
Yeah.
of the like, and I do have this thing where I like to keep their fields clean. And there's like 11, it's not like your kind of situation. But for
Yeah.
here, it's quite a lot. It's like 11 hectares that, and I like to pick it all up so that they just have clean grazing. And so it's quite a lot of hours just spent doing that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, but I don't know. I love it. So
It's
yeah.
devotional. Yeah. Have you seen Elephant
Yeah.
Whisperers on Netflix?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so good. It's a kind of similar
Yeah.
theme of that devotional caring.
Yeah, that's true. Was that the one with where once somebody was killed by an elephant? An old. It was like a
I can't
couple who
remember
were
that. Her husband was killed, I think,
Oh,
by a
the
tiger or
book.
something.
Yeah, okay. No,
But
I
it
was
was
thinking of a
her.
different one.
Oh, Elephant Whisperers. Yeah, it's a lady and a man in India that
Yeah.
care for these elephants, and it's so like devotional,
Yeah.
beautiful. I think they
Yeah.
end up getting married. Or something. I shouldn't ruin it for people. But so
Yeah.
you'll have to put a little thing in, spoiler alert, if you want to watch Elephant Whisperer. It's well worth it if you're on a
Yeah.
spiritual path with horses, even though they're elephants. It's like
Yeah. Oh, I
same
love
resonant.
those things. They're so beautiful. Those kind of stories. Well, it's been so wonderful to talk with
Yeah,
you,
so
Savita.
good.
Is there anything else you would like to say or feel
Um,
to
no, there's
share?
probably lots we could do it again and
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, we should. Yeah.
talk some more. But yeah, I don't know. I think that the probably the greatest gift that we can give our horses is to really go as deep as we're capable of in this life with ourselves, with our own path, and then bring that clarity to our relationship with, as
That's
well as learning, like learning the skills of communication. Because I know people that really love, like love deeply
mm,
and are really devoted, but they haven't learned that subtle communication and that sort of thing. And so then there's that difficulty in their relationship there. And, we need both, which is why I have compassion and connection, because you can even channel divine compassion, but not know how to communicate for connection.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, it's multifaceted, isn't it? Really,
Mm, yeah,
our
yeah,
relationship with us, there's many different aspects for sure. And I think they're pretty amazing at showing us what we need to work on as well.
yeah, yeah. Very truthful.
Yeah, it makes me think of there's a lovely man he's a friend of mine, and he's kind of like a spiritual counselor for people, mainly sports people into sports and things.
Yeah,
And we just happened to meet, and he comes here, and he's in the herd. When we're in the herd, he's a little bit nervous. It's understandable because he's not used to being around all these horses.
yeah. You take it
And
for granted.
yeah, and my mare, one time I wasn't there when it happened, but he told me about it. She came and she just put, and they never ever stand on people's feet. But this particular time, she just took her foot and like just gently put it on his foot. And I think she was sort of showing him that he had to ground himself and just
Mm,
like
mm.
relax. And she often does that. She'll take a bit of skin on someone's arm and just nip it really gently, like, and it's almost like she's saying, "Be in your body, like come
Yeah,
into the
yeah.
ground. This is
She's a
what we
somatic
need."
practitioner. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, she is. It's so funny. Yeah, so funny how they sometimes literally show you what
yeah,
you have to
yeah,
do.
yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Well, this has
Yeah,
been wonderful. Thank you very much.
very lovely. I really enjoyed
And
it.
yeah, let us know. Let me know about the book. Excited.
I will. Yeah, yeah. And if people want to work with me online, I do that as well. So.
Okay. Well, I'll put anything. Yeah, we can make a. What I do is I make a page on the website for all of what you're doing and whatever links you want to put on.